kind of concerned about COVID and everything. And
I'm so tired of that, like, because you miss out on all the conversations we
Sure,
got to have at
that's right.
lunchtime, and it was, I really enjoyed it because we got to meet so many different people.
it's a really good.
Yes,
think it's working.
yes, it's
I
working.
think it's working. You and David.
So,
What's that?
gonna sing us a tune, are you?
I can, hey, well, Hank Williams, come your way.
Mhm.
Go on a little song.
Karaoke
Yeah.
at
We are,
planning commission meeting. So,
Ready to go?
we are good to go. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to call the planning commission meeting for 1/11/23 to order. And we'll start with the roll call. Commission member Hennis here, commission member Kramer,
Here.
commission member Lucas,
Here.
commission member Whitmore,
Here.
commission member Watkins.
Here.
In addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. One, to join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar. The link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. Two, to join by telephone. You may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you are calling in by telephone. At this time, we will proceed with the meeting and we will have any citizen comments. Anyone who has something to speak about that is not on the agenda is welcome to come forward and speak. Okay, we have no one signed up. Do we have anyone physically here that would like to speak? No. Okay, so Chris is going to check out.
We do not have anyone via Zoom.
Okay, and no one by phone.
No one by phone, no ma'am.
Okay, I will move on to the approval of the December 14th, 2022 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Any questions, comments, changes? Okay, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. And the minutes are approved as submitted. We'll now go to the board report. Staff is going to give the reports for the Board of Supervisors and the BZA.
Yes, at their January 9th meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved, at the January 9th meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved this Kugler special exception permit to hold special events, I should say, in the agricultural transitional zone there in Rafine, of course, as recommended by the Planning Commission. Additionally, they approved the rezoning for the co-op from B2 to B1 as recommended, and the same for the Wesley Chapel property rezoned from R1 to A2 as recommended by the Planning Commission. The board is, I think I reported this last time, the Board of Zoning Appeals met on the 21st of December. That was just a straight organizational meeting. And so there was some discussion on the continuation of electronic meeting policy. I'm sorry, continuity of government ordinance, but short of that, no action was taken.
Great, thank you. We're moving on to Tara L. and Patrick F. Werner, 382 Paget's Hill Road, Natural Bridge, Virginia, 24578, have made an application for a special exception permit in order to operate a commercial kennel. The breeding operation has been active for a few years, so the purpose of this application is for the kennel to be in compliance with zoning. We will have a staff presentation.
Yes, and I do not have formal PowerPoint presentations for y'all this evening. But I'm going to use the GIS to shepherd the conversation, if you will. And so highlighted in the red here is the Warner Tracks. Again, Tara L. and Patrick E. Warner in attendance tonight, address 382 Paget's Hill Road, Natural Bridge, Virginia, have made an application for a special exception permit in order to operate the commercial kennel. The breeding operation has been active for a few years, so the purpose of this application is to bring the kennel in compliance with zoning side of things. The Warners had come in for a business license application. We get probably several of those a day, at least a few a week, I would say. And generally speaking, they're administrative approval. Obviously, in this case, the Office of Community Development, could not sign off on the business license until they successfully went through this special exception process. The properties, again, identified as 382 Paget's Hill Road. which I'm gonna actually zoom down a little bit here onto the property. This is identified as 382. Are located in the agricultural and general use districts at the A2 zoning district per section 603.03-5 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. A commercial kennel is a use by special exception in the A2 zoning district. The properties are located on the west side of Pageants Hill Road, approximately 1.43 miles north of the intersection of Pageants Hill Road and Red Clover Lane, further identified as tax map numbers 95-5-D5, which is the larger parcel, I believe. Yes, the D5 is the larger of the two parcels. And then in the rear, a second parcel identified as 95-5-C6. The total acreage between the two is 31.241 acres per tax records. Per section 302.116 of the land development regulations, a kennel is defined as any location where the raising, grooming, caring for, or boarding of cats, dogs, or other small animals for commercial purposes is carried on. The application includes proposed breeding of dogs. For discussion purposes, included in your agenda item, we have 4 conditions for discussion purposes. The first one is substantial compliance with the development plan prepared by the applicant titled Patrick and Tara Warner Track, dated December 16th, 2022. That is included in your package showing the existing facilities. The number 2, breeding is limited to blank types of dogs, and Ms. Warner, Mr. and Mrs. Warner prepared to talk about that a little bit as far as what operation they currently have and what they foresee in the upcoming years. Number 3, limited to blank number, and that would be a unique number of female and blank number unique male number of male dogs for breeding purposes. Excludes any visiting stud dogs. And finally, number 4, under draft conditions, boarding and grooming operations shall be prohibited. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to the Warners to explain a little bit more details of the operation and what they would like to achieve with the special exception permit.
Come on up.
Yeah, come on up. Speak in the microphone. It's the only way the Zoom people can hear you. Thank you.
Evening. Nice to meet everybody here. Appreciate y'all taking the time to listen and learn a little bit more about the business and field any questions that you guys need answered. But Tara's going to answer specific stuff about the dog side, and I can answer a little bit more about the business and the property itself. I read some of the conditional statements. I think first and foremost, there's some easy ones like the boarding and grooming. We have no intention of ever, no intention of ever getting into a grooming business or offering grooming services. No intention or interest in boarding of dogs. We've never advertised it. We'll never advertise it. I myself work full-time at a dog. It isn't a dog business. So I work for 3 Notch Brewing in Charlottesville, and that takes up the bulk of my time. I have no time to groom dogs or allow them to be boarded. That being said, I think I read a couple of the other conditional statements. We're fine with some of those potential limits on the numbers of dogs. I think those are reasonable concerns, and happy to have a dialogue about what those limits might be. As far as the nature and types of breeds, we know where that concerns come from. I'm sure everybody's like pit bulls or Rottweilers. These are doodles. If no one is familiar with a doodle in this room, a doodle is a hypoallergenic mixed with a poodle. So we have anywhere from Cavalier Spaniels mixed with poodles, which is a Cavapoo, to a Sheepadoodle, which is an Old English sheepdog mixed with a poodle. We also do Bernedoodles, which are Bernese mountain dogs mixed with poodles. And I think that, Golden Doodles as well. All of those dogs are in the mini to medium range. These aren't huge working Great Pyrenees or Rottweilers. Our trend, actually, I think Tara can speak to this, is we're looking at people like smaller dogs as it is. So I think we'll probably trend to the smaller sizes. That trend tends to be pretty noticeable to us. Beyond that, I think it's tough to site specific. If you listed all of those, they all have to be bred with a poodle. So there's, it takes two different breeds to get a doodle. So that by nature, if we wanted to break those down and list those, I'd be happy to do so. I think Tara's probably better at doing some of that detailing, but we're totally open to doing that. Yeah, and I think anything beyond that, we're happy to discuss anything. I think I saw some concerns from neighbors about a limit to dogs, and I think we just discussed that. We're happy to discuss a potential limit to what that might be, given our availability. And as two people running this, essentially, we can only have but so many dogs. We have parents of 3 and busy schedule, as you guys probably all well know. So. Yeah, happy to field questions or concerns with anyone. I think this year is the first year it took off. So this filing is in conjunction with forming of our LLC, with getting our tax, like our CFO recommended that we go through all these processes. So our advisors are telling us this is like, hey, this has grown. It's not a hobby anymore. You made the comment, it's been a business for 2 years. I wouldn't have called it that until our financial advisors had said you're at a point now where it's in your best interest to become a licensed business entity and file and any permitting required to do so. I think we're more than willing to abide by rules and regulations, I think was the verbiage I read in a neighbor's letter. But no, we're happy to do so. And again, any questions, happy to answer them the best I can or turn them over to the dog guru over here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add before we?
Nope, I think you covered it all.
Okay, very good. Do you guys have any questions before they sit down, or do we keep going and do the public hearing first? And then
We
come
can
back?
do the public hearing, see if it generates any additional questions, concerns, and then have
I'm
a
gonna try to
discussion.
remember my questions. I'm gonna write them down.
Okay.
So, okay. So if you guys want to have a seat just close by, and then we'll have an open the public hearing. So at this time, we're going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here physically present who would like to speak on this topic? Anyone signed up, Chris?
No, ma'am, no one signed up.
Okay. Now we'll take comments via computer and phone. At this time, I'll ask staff if there are any citizens that would like to make a comment from Zoom.
No, ma'am, there are no
far.
one signed in at this time.
Okay.
I would like to recognize, obviously based on our last discussion with the continuity of government ordinance, we are no longer requiring ourselves, if you will, to read the public comments out loud. But we did make the statement that we would acknowledge the public comments that we have received, or excuse me, the comments that we have received. And I would like to recognize Miss Ann Rustick on the comments that y'all, of course, received
Yes.
earlier this week, I believe, even.
Yes. That was the only email we got, correct?
That was the only written correspondence I received. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you. With no further comments, we will close the public hearing. We'll bring it back to the board. I'll let you all go first if you want to ask some questions of
Yeah.
Warners.
Chris,
Yes.
does the animal control, are they part of the sheriff's department, and are they required to inspect kennels?
The twofold question, the animal control is part of the sheriff's office. Yes, that is a correct statement, but no, it's not. There is no required inspections from the department, the sheriff's office, that type of thing.
So we have animal control and they don't inspect?
Not commercial kennels, no, sir. That they would go out on calls, field calls of dogs running at large. Any concerns on dogs or cats or animals, livestock not being taken care of, they would investigate those properly, that type of thing.
So if they got a call that a neighbor was concerned about something going on in the kennel, they would go out?
That's my understanding. Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone else up here?
Chris, seems like they've been kind of in business since 2019. What, have you had any complaints?
We have not. No, sir. I was unaware of the activity, obviously, until Miss Warner came in with the business license. And that's when we were made aware of it. Again, usually 9 out of 10 of those are administrative approval. They don't come to this level. In this particular case, we could not sign off on prior to the zoning issue.
How many dogs do you guys currently have?
If you could come up to answer the question, just to.
Just I have a, yeah,
the
good, because I have a couple of those same. How many of these?
I think we're getting to the
Since they-
nuts and bolts now.
Yeah.
So we have a program where we have set up a guardian program so we can limit our dogs that are home. So we try to have less meals, of course, because it can be tricky. But We also have to have younger females that we retire our females after 4 litters. They retire at 3 to 4 years old. So we have younger females that we are raising to replace them.
Explain them what a guardian home is. I think
guardian-
that's relevant to how
Sorry.
Yeah.
it's actually more
So-
cost efficient for us to scale this way than to bring dogs on.
So a guardian family is a family that gets a free breeding quality dog, and then we take them, we have rights for stud use and only us, and then we bring them to our house for 3 to 4 days. So we currently have about 15 dogs, younger to older, but not 15 breeding dogs. We also have dogs that are spay and neutered as well. And we retire our dogs usually with friends and family, and also previous puppy owners. So we do not keep all of our dogs because it's, of course, numbers. So
So of those 15, how many are male stud dogs?
with three males.
And how many breeding females then?
So what?
12.
No, we don't have 12 females. We have 2 females that are about to have their last litter this year, so they're going to retire. That are Old English sheepdogs. We have a poodle that's going to have her last litter and retire. So we're going to get down to this year to 10 females.
So how many litters is that a year for you?
But I skip heats, so we probably do this coming year. I'm hoping to do. We'll probably have 8 to 10 litters, something like that.
How many dogs are in a litter? I had a litter of labs, and you can get anywhere from 8 labs to 12
Yeah,
labs.
right? So our minis will have typically 5 puppies, and then our standards 10, around 10.
It's the game in the house that the girls play, is trying to predict, then trying to guess. If you can guess the litter
many?
size, you get some
Right.
perks at that. So,
And so how many not litters, how many puppies have you sold since you started this in 2019? You said it's kind of scaled up
Well,
to a business, but
I think that Ann Russick mentioned 2019. That's when we started buying, starting the program. That's when I started my Facebook page, and that's why
Oh.
it was brought up.
okay.
So I didn't have a bunch of dogs in 2019. We started buying. We had to travel over, look for dogs that we find the right temperament, quality, genetics. Like we're big on genetics. So it took some time to build that up. I've retired females that were not a good fit. As far as how many dogs, how many puppies I've sold,
Or
that's-
litters, and I'm just trying to figure out how.
I mean, certainly you got some idea of how many you've done. I mean, we're hearing hundreds.
No.
That's from Ann Russick.
Yeah,
and
that's-
she based
Hey,
it
that's
on-
what we have, so we're asking you.
Right. Oh, I
So-
understand.
Yeah,
You need to follow her question. Okay. So it's not been hundreds of litters. That would be insane.
Yeah.
Or even
But-
hundreds of puppies.
Yeah. So typically I would say 60 a year, would be a good, what we're trying to
That's our
goal
target for now that we've actually.
60 puppies.
Would be
60
our goal
puppies.
for next year. When we
Yes.
sit down with our planner and to discuss what we're trying to hit for this year, that would be an extremely awesome goal for us.
Yeah. So if you have
to
a
do.
litter, if
It's
you
5
have,
litters of 12 puppies or 8.
I was gonna say 8 litters, yeah,
give
I'm
or
looking at
take.
your number.
So it's the puppies remain inside during their entire life cycle, so that never at any point are they even out in a kind of they live inside with us in our indoor puppy room.
yeah, we don't put them in the kennel.
They're picked
in
up
our
on
house.
when they're legally allowed to be picked up at 8 weeks. Their owners come and meet us on the farm and are able to pick up their dogs and go home. So that's a transitional number. It's not as though there's 60 dogs ever on our property at any
Right.
time.
And I guess the other thing is about these specific breeds. So obviously we can't just say doodles. We've got to list out all the ones that you're gonna use.
Yeah. So with the market of doodles, it does change, and we've changed it. But I would be comfortable to say we'll stick. We're going to be doing mini Bernedoodles.
so what we would have to say is standard poodle, right?
Absolutely.
Would
And a
be
Bernese
one,
Mountain.
and then it would be a Burmese,
Mini poodle. I don't know if you need to keep adding mini poodle because
Just
I
don't
think-
do sizes. Just do.
just do
Sure.
poodle,
Yeah.
I
and
just
then,
worry about restrictions because like we mentioned, if there's times when these dogs, if we wanted to, for example, have a guardian home that had a dog outside of these restrictions, I'm not sure why that would fall under an umbrella of
Mm.
restriction. So
Well, let's just go with the doodles. Anyway, so we'll do Bernese Mountain Dog Poodle.
Say that one more time.
So if, let's say we had an Old English sheepdog that wasn't listed, that's not a doodle, but that's required to make a sheep a doodle. And that wasn't on our property. We have guardian homes for like a stud, for example, if that stud lives in Rockingham County with a family all of the time, comes to.
And the sheepdog comes and he's not listed, then you would be out of compliance.
Being in
You'd
compliance
be out of
and not having a
compliance.
crystal.
I mean,
ball.
but welcome to business, right? I mean,
Sure.
you
Yeah,
gotta
so do
manage
you
it.
wanna
And so we're asking, yeah.
I'm thinking any that you would be
But- and I will
possibly
say,
mixing.
Most of the dogs that we have are not doodles, they are the combination. So if you were to visit our dogs, and some of our Old English sheepdogs.
That's
poodles,
all I was
Yeah.
mentioning.
Mhm.
That's what I think he was coming across.
Okay.
So we'll do Bernedoodles, which is a Bernese Mountain Dog poodle mix. Cavapoo, which is Cavalier King Charles poodle mix. A Golden Doodle, we do, minis and standard size mediums. And the Sheepadoodles. And, occasionally we look at, to keep back a female, we would do like a Old English sheepdog litter, but I don't know if we would do that in the future, but that is kind of in the breeding world, you keep back your best quality puppy for your future program to keep the bloodlines going. But as of right now, as far as what we're breeding doodles,
So the Old English sheepdog would be the sheepdoodle, sheepadoodle. or
that's
whatever.
the sheepdoodle is the Old English sheepdog poodle mix. Yeah.
Right.
This may be a dumb question, but when you breed a sheepadoodle, it's a poodle and an Old English sheepdog.
Yeah.
So you get a male and a female. Can't you breed those two together, or do you always start over with the Old English sheepdog and the poodle?
So I really like, as far as genetics wise, depends on the dog. So Old English sheepdog naturally don't shed, and poodles. So I can do an F1, which is a 50-50 cross. So I like to have those parents separate, but our golden doodles, we own golden doodles because you want to add a little bit more poodles so they don't shed.
Mhm.
So there's a whole different side to that. So I have a poodle male and a golden doodle female.
Depending on the breed, you want a little more poodle than you do,
Yeah.
so
Shedding for shedding reasons.
Okay.
So for our purposes, we would list a poodle and then we would list the Burmese mountain dog, or would we just say a Burmese doodle or whatever, Burma doodle?
a doodle, as long as it was assumed that we all.
Never
understood that
gonna have a
they wanted
Burmese
big-
dog then,
big
you know?
ones.
We have a Bernese.
We have a Bernese mountain dog.
She is retiring, but.
So
she
you
will
really
retire.
have to have all of that. You have
That's
to
what I'm
list the
wondering.
mix as well as the poodle. So it has to be poodle, Burmese mountain dog,
And the result
Burma
of it.
doodle,
Yeah.
Cavalier King Charles
That's
Sorry.
poodle, and then the
We're in
cavadoodle.
business now.
Yeah.
No, it's
I'm with
good.
you on this
That's
one.
some of what we plan on breeding, but those are the dogs we have. at
You could
home.
possibly have,
But I don't plan on breeding those dogs.
but
that's
you
what I
wanna,
own
you don't
personally.
plan on it, but you never know what might
They-
happen. So-
Yeah, we don't have a male Bernese mountain dog, so I don't think
Mm-hmm.
any accidents can happen, but
So when we talk about a limit on the number of females, do you feel like 3 is all you're ever going to want? Or do you think you may go up to 5 or, or I'm sorry,
Males.
that was
Males.
males. Females would be 10 right now, I guess you have, would it? We
I
want to,
don't want to limit, so I would say if you want to cap us off at, with our property, I don't see a limit. I don't plan to have any more than 20 dogs at a time. So
Mhm.
if you want to do,
Yeah, if you scaled males to 5 and females to 15, and just knowing what our amount of time in a day and willingness
because
to
it,
keep
it
doing
goes up and down, like I said, because I'll have some females, like this year, there are 5 females retiring, so my number's going to drop down 5 dogs.
Right.
But then, once they become 2 years old, I buy a puppy and I raise it, and then that dog replaces that dog. So it's a constant up and
Mhm.
down, so it's hard to always give you a number,
right.
but I would be fine at, and
Right.
the same thing with males are longer. I don't have to worry about replacing the males as soon, but it's really important for us that we retire them at a younger age and we just do 4 litters and keep it at that.
And Chris, this goes with the land, is that right? Or no?
Yes, yes, it
Especially,
does.
so that's why we've got to think ahead because we don't want somebody else to say, oh, well, we're going to put no limit on it. So we're going to have 50 females, like
Yeah.
we can't have
Yeah,
that. So.
but, so what limit do you want to have on the dogs? I don't.
I don't like
And I'm
it.
just wondering, how many puppies is that at one time?
Well, they said 8 to 10 litters a
Well-
year and 5 to 10 puppies. So I mean,
Mm.
15 and 5 ought to work.
Yeah, it says
They
it-
cycle every 6 months.
That sounds cute for the beginning, but now we're like up in the ante, right? So now we're talking, what, 20? I just feel like,
No, that's not the way it
Mm.
works. So I have.
I don't know how it works.
Yeah,
That's why I'm asking.
20,
Okay.
20
Good.
females, but you're not going to have, you're not going to be breeding them all the time.
No, so like I said, they are retiring. We have some that are already spay. I have younger females that are not breeding.
Some
age.
takes 2.
So
takes
it makes
about
our
2
numbers
years to-
higher, but those are not all females I'm breeding, and they cycle every 6 months. I skip mostly I will skip a heat. So that's 1 litter a year for that female. So I do that, and a lot of times they cycle together because Mother Nature is
Right.
funny. So then
Yeah, a lot of
you don't
puppies at
want to
one
have
time.
5 litters at born in the same week. So we skip those heats. So I do make sure we are, making sure we have 3 daughters.
Make sure you don't
So
have
making sure
40
that-
puppies at
Yeah,
one time.
exactly. So
You skip, it's tough to.
Right.
Listen, I don't have a problem with your business. I'll be honest. I have a problem with the neighbors having to endure maybe some, it's not even my district, so I'm just chiming in, but I could understand being a neighbor and hearing
Sure.
a lot of puppies, and that's why I'm just
here are
asking.
puppies are in our home.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, there's a difference in
Well,
being
just
out and being
dogs
in a
in general,
cage.
right?
and,
I mean,
you
it's
know,
just,
kennel.
that's the only thing. I'm not trying to be tough. I'm trying to
No, we're
like just
very-
ask
we're
the
very
questions
close
that,
with our budding
We've got a
neighbors.
great relationship with our budding
And
neighbors.
They come and play with our puppies. We ask them all the time, let us know. We are very mindful of barking. I myself would not want to live near a place that had dogs
Correct.
constantly barking. So that's why we have a building for our dogs. A lot, they come in our house, and then there's the building. That we did that really because you have a dog in heat and you have to separate them, or there's accidents that happen. Our house is large enough where we use it for our puppies. We took our dining room, put 2 doors on it. That's our puppy room. I submitted pictures of it for you all to see. We're
Right.
very proud of it. And then we made a area right next to our house to put puppies in.
So I have a
Little play area.
Yeah, so Chris, the only thing I have a question about then in here, there's nothing in here that says these dogs are going to be inside. So again, if this runs with the land, technically somebody could come by your house and breed puppies there and have them all outside in pens, and then you are listening to.
You do have substantial compliance with site plan as presented. And so that does list the pen area where it stands. It would be unique to the site plan, that the development plan, I should say. So it would be.
So whoever bought it would have to abide by that same site plan.
The same site plan. So it'd be limited as far as additional runs, additional, buildings, that type of thing, without coming through the process. I should
But
say.
they could potentially breed puppies and have them all outside in that outside area, right?
Yes. I mean, yes.
Yeah, that is one thing about my belief is that puppies should be raised in a home and socialized and loved and held every day and hear the sounds of a home. And our puppies will never be in a kennel. It's something that I firmly believe in. And that's why we raise them as part of our own family. And it's really important to us.
Mhm.
So
I just want to make sure we protect the future, the neighbors
Sure,
too. So we got to do that too. We'd love for you to stay there forever, but things
well,
happen. So,
yeah, we don't plan on
we'll
leaving
be
anytime
there
soon.
right.
That's why you'll get a limit of some kind on it, and that's why you'll get some other restrictions that are going to fall into it, because it does follow land. And anything to do with the limits on the number of dogs. I mean, if it gets to a point that they want to expand, you can always come back and go, hey, we'd like to expand. We want to bump our numbers by 5, whatever. That's the same thing we've done with every other kennel that's come before us before.
awesome.
So
It's completely.
don't try to squeeze it down too tight, but we want to make sure that.
Sure.
that
I think
it's-
we're on the same page. If that's the
doable.
nature of it, then more
Sure.
than comfortable with that.
So I know in the past for kennels, we've had a limit on total number of
Total
dogs,
limits,
like
yeah.
puppies and dogs,
Yeah.
adults and puppies at one time. And
I believe it was puppies older than 12 weeks, right?
That would be, so it's currently we have limited, and this is verbatim based on other applications or other conditions, I should say, limited to blank number female and blank number of males for dogs for breeding, and that excludes the puppies.
right. But I thought we had a number on like the total
A total number.
I think it's
Yeah.
always been just
male and female for
males and
breeding.
females, because
No, it's not. Puppies
No.
are
It could be, absolutely. That's a unique part about the special
That's what I was
exception.
curious
Right.
about. I could see where if you had a quarter acre in downtown Lexington and you were trying to run
That ain't
with
gonna
40
happen. Yeah,
dogs,
no.
I assure you that would be a sticky
Huh.
situation. But yeah, as long as there's, like you said, if it's something where there's a limit, and at some point in the unforeseeable future we decide to do more, then I'm sure we could come
for
in
the
and
adult dogs.
have a discussion about
So
it.
we have no limit on the number of total dogs. There's nothing in our other kennels that we've
This
approved.
is based on the application, the most recent application on Rafine Road, I believe it was, based on both of those. This is.
And just
in
go
fact,
back
the
again
first one-
to she's a responsible breeder, but if you get a breeder in there who's going to breed every cycle and they're going to have 20 litters and, I mean, that's just my concern.
Other ones are verbatim. The last one we did was verbatim.
The
This
Racine
one.
Red was grooming and boarding as well as a portion.
No, they were
One
not.
was and one was not. It was the same family. I
That's what
think.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
of. You're
Golden
exactly right. That was
retrievers.
about the boarding and it was the total number of dogs on the
It was like
property.
30
Boarding
golden
side.
retrievers.
No, that's wrong.
Yes.
This is one from 2022. Breeding and boarding operations limited to 20 dogs total, excluding puppies 16 weeks or younger, with a maximum of 5 dogs associated with the boarding operation.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm.
So
thinking
that
of.
must have been the second one we did for that particular family,
I
not the,
think so.
okay.
yeah. Because
Which is
the
15.
breeding for that one, breeding
Breeding.
limited to 2 of the following breeds.
Mhm.
So that
Because they
definitely.
had not, at that time, had not decided which
Right.
ones they were gonna actually do. So they had Labradors, Goldens, Blue Heelers, Australian Cattle Dogs, Great Pyrenees, small and standard poodles.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
5 males, 10 females?
We put 5, well, they already have 10 females, so we upped it to 15.
That's what I'm saying, 5, you want to up it to 50.
Because they're at 10 now, and some of those are spayed females.
Right. We need
And-
at least 15 for the females, and I don't imagine having more than 5 males, but I mean, if you want to put that
They
down.
have
you
3
can.
right now, so
Well,
that's why I just figured you're going to up it.
Yeah, because if
You
I had
know,
to buy
you've got to
a male
have
to
the
retire the older male, I just do need a little wiggle
little
room.
room
It's
because you're
go
going to
up and
have
down.
a male that you're waiting to retire, just like you might have a female that's spayed that you're waiting to.
The ones that are spayed are the ones that they're out of the breeding side of things. So that's more of a pet.
So you're still talking about
In
how
their
many
home now.
females and how many males for breeding. So I don't know. I mean, I think they've already got 10, and if you're trying to expand, I think we're going to tie their hands if we don't give them some room to move. They'll be back here next week.
How many,
You know.
how many you breeding now? How many dogs do you have that you're actually breeding now? You say you
She
have
said
10.
10 females
She-
and 3.
She
3
says she has 10, but I mean, have you got 10 that you're actually breeding now? You got some that you cycled out that are
Like that are currently retired. Like I just had a female stay yesterday. So I mean, she's going to retire here soon, but it's constantly changing. So like I said, as far as breeding females, like I said, I like to skip their cycles. So you want to put 10 and just do 15 and 15 females, 5 males. I would feel comfortable with that.
how many do you have now?
We
That's
have
my question.
16 dogs total at our But
16 dogs.
including a Cavapoo that's neutered.
That's
So,
my
yeah,
work dog.
so I don't know. We have 16
He's
total.
not
She
part of it.
initially said they had 10 breeding females and 3 breeding
Three-
males.
Yes, and then we have some dogs that are
And they have some others that are cycling
Right.
through whatever spayed or whatever.
Right.
So
neutered.
that's why I said if they already have 10 breeding females, you got to give them some room if they're going to grow in the next however long. That's why I thought 15 was fair. Give them an extra 2 dogs. Maybe they'll scale up, maybe not, but
All right.
I'm comfortable with that.
So on number 2, breeding limited to.
going to be poodle, Burmese mountain dog,
What-
Burma poodle, Cavalier, or whatever they are, Cavapoo,
It's a Cavapoo, yeah. I have the paper.
And
Golden Poo,
Golden Doodle.
and Sheepadoodle.
Yeah, Golden Doodle, Sheepadoodle, Bernedoodle, Cavapoo.
a lot of doodles.
Yep, that's the whole point.
And I think, did we,
And an old English sheepdog.
Yeah, I'm not really doing as much, but like if I ever wanted to keep a litter back, like a dog back, it would be very rare that I ever did that.
did we determine we would list both of them? And like my list is poodle, small and standard. Number 2, golden retriever, golden doodle. Number 3, Burmese mountain dog, Bernedoodle. Number 4, Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Cavapoo. And number 5, old English sheepdog, Sheepadoodle.
That works out nicely because like my Cavalier, if I ever wanted to keep a female back, I might do 1 litter with
I
from
think,
her.
I think we should have
Both
the
of them
the
listed.
What
poo.
about like
the poo
a
version and the
doodle?
Well,
I've
it's-
seen
Before
shepherd
we get
doodles
to that, I would say
now,
Chris can read.
And
this
so,
one.
so
Give
prior
her a
to the
good
meeting,
grade.
I obviously did a little bit of research trying to draft conditions. That's why I reached out to Tara because I found 36 different.
Well,
types of
that's what I
doodles.
guess my question
I
is,
said,
like,
let's
we're sitting here
Come with a
like,
list, a unique list of
that's
what
good.
you're expecting,
So-
and that's where we are
So
now.
I think his question is if he's going to read the the motion, can you give him that list so he can
Absolutely,
read it
yes.
off of there? You're on. That's the
Oh, yeah,
teacher in me,
okay.
right? I'm
No,
gonna.
I have another question.
Uh-huh.
Is the reason we're putting the breeds in here, is that because we want to limit it that
We don't want to have any pit
the
bull
pit bulls
poos.
or,
or,
no,
you
well,
know.
not even, purebred pit bulls or purebred Great Danes and things like that.
A lot of it in previous experiences, a lot of it is the type of dog and dogs that are prone to barking, beagles, hounds, those type of issues. So it'd be multiple fold of why we're putting in the actual listing the actual dogs
So
with
if-
enough flexibility for them for the
Because
not
remember,
foreseeable
if they
future. but-
leave and we didn't have anything in there,
No.
anybody
Yeah,
can bring
no,
anything.
I understand that. I was just curious from the standpoint of, we don't want to tie their hands on number 3, but what if they come up with another?
Oh, I'm sorry, we do a double doodle.
Mhm.
So that needs to get listed too.
Oh, here we
You wanna
go.
Think about what that's
What's a
called.
double doodle? It sounds like a
Doodle,
poodle.
like, it's
Doo-doodle.
it's a double doodle. It's like you breed 2 doodles together to make certain colors. So if you want to put double doodle down, that's an easier way. to
Well,
do
I
it.
have a golden doodle and that thing barks like crazy. So just FYI for the record.
Maybe it doesn't
Or,
like it.
train that dog a little better.
You have to take it to the. All right.
Well, as
So I
we-
think, are we good with questions? No?
As we sit here and we list dogs and we're listing everything doodle, but we also have a golden retriever. And as far as somewhere in the line, there's a golden retriever
I don't own
someplace.
a golden retriever. Yeah,
There's not,
yeah, I don't have.
So
any.
that's just like
I only own
someone
golden
else that
doodles.
hey, we're gonna bring him in as a stud.
No, I only own golden doodles and I have a poodle male because I do F1B. So I
Okay.
want
Yeah.
75% poodle.
We
How
want
much
the
the
least
sheepdog?
amount.
You can
of
take retriever out
the
of there.
retriever.
Yeah.
We
They're
love them all. to
wonderful
death. They're good
dogs.
looking, but
Beautiful
you want the
dogs.
poodle's brain and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
You want 75% of that.
Now, I'm not saying I would never use an outside stud for one of our, for a retriever, but I personally don't own a retriever.
So we'll leave retrievers in.
Or
for
out.
Visiting stud dogs.
Yeah, for
Yep.
visiting, that would be fine.
all right, I'm good.
Okay.
So is there a double doodle on there? 'Cause that's
There's a double
important.
doodle, number
All
6 is
right.
double doodle.
Good about that
So
double.
David,
doo-doo-
you good
it's a
with it?
doo-doodle.
Good with.
All right.
All right, we're good to
We need
go.
Chris's
Thank you. I
list.
appreciate
y'all
it.
so much.
Yep, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
You want to read all that?
And then he's gonna put in the breeding
Yes.
limited to,
And Mr. Sladen is going to read off the
okay,
breeds when we get there.
okay.
Okay?
I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the special exception permit for Patrick and Tara of Warner to operate a commercial kennel in the agricultural and general use A-2 zoning district per Land Development Regulation, Section 603.03-5 on property located on the west side of Paget's Hill Road, Route 690, identified as tax map number 95-5-D5 and number 95-5-C6. The Buffalo Magisterial District be approved with the following conditions. Substantial, number 1, substantial compliance with development plan prepared by the applicant titled Patrick and Tara Warner Tract dated December 16, 2022. Breeding limited to.
Number 1, poodle, small and standard. Number 2, golden retriever / golden doodle. Number 3, Burmese mountain dog / Bernedoodle. Number 4, Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, I think it is, / Cavapoo. Number 5, Old English Sheepdog / Sheepapoo. And last but not least, double doodles.
Number 3, limited to 15 females and 5 males, dogs for breeding, which shall include any visiting stud dogs. Number 4, boarding and grooming operations shall be prohibited.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Good luck to you
Thank
guys.
you.
Good luck.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
So just for everyone's information, this is the planning commission has advisory role. And so it's the end of the month on the 23rd for the board of supervisors. No, that's okay. We'll take care of it. And I'll share that with you. prior to
Okay,
the
yeah,
meeting.
so make sure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, Daniel B. and John T. Mays, 653 Low Street, Buchanan, Virginia, 24066, have made an application for a special exception permit to operate a campground / private seasonal camp. The property is located in the agricultural and general uses A2 zoning district for section 603.03-15 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. Campground private seasonal camps are used by special exception in the A2 district.
Yes, ma'am. Bear with me here. I'm gonna get the GIS up and going. This is let me share my screen. John and Daniel Mays are in attendance this evening representing the project landowners of the property. Their mailing address is currently 651 Low Street, Buchanan, Virginia. Made an application for a special exception to permit the development and operation of a campground / private seasonal camp. Property is located in the agricultural and general use district A2 per section 605.03-15 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. Private campground / private seasonal camps are used by special exception in the A2 zoning district. You have the definitions in front of you. I'll spare the details of those, but your per section 302.34 defines campgrounds, and 302.159 defines seasonal private campgrounds. The property is owned by Daniel B. and John T. Mays and is located on the south side of Gilmore's Mill Road, located along the James River, approximately 0.73 miles east of the intersection of Gilmore's Mill Road and Schaefer Lane, and further identified as tax map number 113-11-4, and consists of of course, it's all jumbled up on me. 6.4 acres. Thank you, sir. Come to the meeting and the GIS gets jumbled up. Going on, the current owners of Twin Rivers Outfitters seek to operate a six site primitive campground. Initially, each site would have a level tent area, picnic table, fire ring, and flip top grill. I won't go into too much detail, so I'll let them do that as far as the application itself and details on the application. I will note that the property is adjacent to the previous approved campground that was known as the James River Depot, associated with the Orson family. That was approved by the Board of Supervisors on September 28th, 2020. The property, and just get everyone oriented, this is of course Gilmore's Mill coming here. To the east is going back to Faulkner Highway, James River along here, and the Maze track is outlined in red. The Orson track, again, just to get everyone oriented, are going to be identified as these three parcels here, this being 1, this being 2, and this being 3. And funny enough, my GIS is back up and running without doing anything. So with that being said, the property under consideration is accessed by a right-of-way through the property owned by CSX Railroad, which is located right here, the existing railroad crossing. The access to the Maze tracks utilizes the same CSX Railroad crossing as the Orson tracks. There are additional tracks on the west side that's owned by WGBV LLC. Zoom out here a little bit. So again, the Maze track is here with the James River flowing this way. Maze track, Orson, and this is the LLC track here. The railroad crossing is, and we detailed this with the James River Depot. The railroad crossing is both a civil issue and a land use issue. The civil issue pertains to what access easement over the CSX land is authorized for. It's the understanding of staff that the access easement is for agricultural purposes only. This is a civil issue between the corresponding landowners. The land use issue pertains to the safety concerns associated with patrons utilizing a non-signal railroad crossing. This section of James River has an engineered flood zone, engineered flood study, and the majority of the Bays tract is located in the 100-year floodplain. If I could zoom down here, I'm gonna turn on my floodplain. So what we are looking at, seeing how what we're looking at, of course, this is the James River here. And so the area that is hatched, the yellow hatching here, and the purple area is part of the 100-year floodplain. The brown in this area along the railroad track is X500, which is the 500-year floodplain. Just to note that there's certainly building restrictions on the books, regardless of the special exception process of the floodway district. But you would be able to for say, per zoning, you would be able to build a single family dwelling, other structures in this portion. The purple zone is the zone AE unhatched. The floodway is considered zone AE hatched. Floodway, certain restrictions. Again, the purple, still part of the 100-year floodplain, is zone AE unhatched. With that, for discussion purposes, we have prepared some draft conditions that could be utilized for the special exception permit. I know the Mazes would like to talk with some of the language in some of these, but for discussion purposes, I'll go ahead and read these. Number one, substantial compliance with the location of the camping sites as shown on the concept plan prepared by the applicant titled Site Plan Twin Rivers Primitive Campground. That is included in 11/17 towards the end of the package, I believe. No campsites within blank feet of adjacent property, and that would be adjacent property to the, in this case, essentially to the west, and that would be Michael and Wendy's Orson, further identified as 113-11-3. They have indicated 50 feet is a comfortable letter for them. I will note that is the same distance away from associated with the James River campground, associated with another piece of property further west. The applicant will obtain E911 address and install signage from Gilmore's Mill Road. Talked to the Mazes a little bit before that. That could include a private road name, depending on what the address coordinator comes up with. You'll see that the Orson camp or the Orson site is identified as 1019, and there has been a lot of success with that address. And prior to this meeting, we obviously verified that that was a Googleable, if that's a word, address, and it does take you to the site. So I think that has alleviated some of the miscommunication and where campers are going in that particular case. Number four, campgrounds or owners are responsible for installing and maintaining signage identifying the western limits of the campground. Number five, all users are required to be notified and acknowledge that the campground is within the 100-year special flood hazard area. Campground owners shall utilize Alert Rockbridge notification system and provide instructions upon check-in about accessing Alert Rockbridge system. Number six, no motorhomes, tow behind campers, in parentheses, such as pop-up campers, toy haulers, teardrop trailers, stand-up trailers, etc., or other recreational vehicles, excluding overlander vehicles, sprinter/transit camper vans, and slide-in truck campers permitted. That number six has been modified since the draft conditions or the conditions that could be utilized that were in the agenda package. Number seven, campground is limited to blank vehicles, not to exceed blank number of people. Number eight, campground owners are responsible for ensuring that the railroad crossing/stop sign is not obstructed. And number nine, approval contingent upon final VDOT, Office of Fire and Rescue, Emergency Management, and Health Department approvals. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to the Mazes, and they do have a PowerPoint presentation for you as well, detailing the project. Actually, I have to open this. Bear with me here.
All right.
Good evening. Hi there. My name's John Mays. I'm one of the owners of Twin River Outfitters. My brother Dan Mays. We're the two owners of this property in question. We're here tonight asking for special exception permit to operate a 6-site campground in Rockbridge County. Let's see here. He's already showed you the GIS, just pointing out the parcel. I'm just going to quickly show you some pictures of the parcel if you've seen it in person. So it's just the big, this portion of it that we own is the 6 acres. It's probably a 4.5 acre large grass field, and about 1.5 acres of wooded tree line along the James River. Just a different view. That's the CSX road entrance. There is a, you can't see Gilmore Mills. It's kind of to the right of the train tracks there where Gilmore's Mill Road comes down that people would cross. The property has about 1,100 feet of river frontage on the left side of the picture here. So it's got a real nice riverfront down through there with some Class 1 rapids down through here. We submitted a site plan that kind of laid out kind of how we conceptualized this. Basically, it would just be 6 sites along the tree line, not down by the water where things can get washed away, but up high enough so everybody's nice and safe. But you have the tree canopy, so it's shelter in the hot sun. Similar to how the Orsons have done their campsites to adjacent to this parcel. We are looking. I'm just going to talk to some of the special exception permit items here. We had asked for to be able to have the closest campsite no closer than 50 feet from the adjacent property. That's what we were asking for. That's number 2 on the bullet point here. In addition to having a limit of no more than 6 campsites, we were looking to have the campground limited to no more than a maximum of 25 vehicles and no more than 50 people, which is what we were asking for. And I think number 6, the only item that we were asking to edit was to omit the toy haulers. So I can drop this paperwork off so you'd have what we're asking for. But basically, we do have, as a canoe and kayak rental business, so we want to be able to bring canoe or kayak trailers onto the property over. And so we don't want to have toy haulers excluded. And then item number 5, under we just have some revised wording there, and I can give you that as how we would write that, or we can talk about that at the end. Just a little bit about our company. We're a canoe and kayak rental company. We actually, the company actually started in Rockbridge County in 1978 under the previous owner. We bought the company in 2005, and then we opened the business, ran in Rockbridge, in Glasgow, and at the old coffee pot location between Buena Vista and Lexington for a few years. And then we relocated everything to Botetourt County, and that's where we've set up and been running ever since. We rent canoes, kayaks, and inner tubes and rafts. In 2022, we had almost 15,000 customers come through the door, of which 1,900 did multi-day paddle trips. Basically, the services we offer day trips, canoe and kayaking, tubing, and then multi-day trips. This is where this campground comes in. When we're asking for a campground, everybody thinks, well, you're going to have this campground, people are going to make reservations to go to the campground. We're just trying to have a campsite on the river for our multi-day trip customers to get into. We're not trying to have like a Jellystone park. We're trying to have campsites that our customers doing a 2, 3, or 4 day trip can stop at. So we have sanctioned spots on the river. We do river tubing, and we also operate already 3 zoned campgrounds in Botetourt County. We have one at Gala that has 12 primitive sites, and that one. Then we have 10 primitive sites at Horseshoe Bend and an 8 at Arcadia. So we already have a network of 3 paddle-in, drive-in campsites on the river in Rockbridge in Botetourt County, and now we're trying to set that up and to allow different trips here in Rockbridge County to bring on a 4th campground, which is downstream of Arcadia. Here's a water trail map of kind of where we're kind of shows the importance of this new campground here. The kind of in the center top of the page shows the proposed campground. From our location of Buchanan, it's 15.5 miles downstream of our shop. from our Arcadia campground. It's 9.5 miles paddle down. From the Alpine boat landing down to this property is 4.5 miles. And then from the property down to Glasgow is 6 miles. And then down to the Snowden takeout is 10.5 miles. So this is very strategic for us as a business to have for a campground in this location. A lot of our campgrounds, we've set up kind of wall tents. So instead of just having a lot of our sites have just a picnic table, fire ring, porta potty, and firewood. Several of the sites we've also upgraded to have wall tents where people are doing a linear river trip going down the river. Instead of them carrying all their tents and cots and chairs with them in a canoe, it's kind of the trend is people go in kayaks. They just want to come into a campsite and it already be set up for them. So having just wall tents set up, camp furniture and stuff, maybe solar power lights and stuff, it's just a better way to do it. So we are looking to have that included, and that's how we do it. 2 of our other 3 campgrounds do have wall tents, in addition to just regular sites. And we charge a little bit of an upgrade when they go camping at a wall tent versus bring your own tent. So we have kind of half the sites kind of set up for just traditional camping. The other half have the upgraded kind of wall tents kind of set up. I think we talked about before we came here, even this evening, we're just going to take off the table and not do tree houses. That's been a dream of ours to do. I just think this property with the railroad crossing, we're just leery to spend a lot of money. So I think we'll actually officially pull that off and not even ask for any type of zoning permission for tree houses at this time. If we ever decide to do that in the future, we would have to come back. So we're officially not asking for any tree houses. We did want to be able to get bathrooms of some shape or fashion. We know that would have to go through additional building department and health department approvals, but we do want to look to maybe have a well at the property one day. It's big enough. It's already perked for septic potentially. I think we're high enough elevation where I think we can do some bathroom solutions in the future other than just porta potties that we've done at our other locations. So we did want it to include, it's a primitive campground, but it would potentially down the road have real bathrooms and potentially showers, which would be a nice amenity compared to our other, which is kind of lacking in some of our other properties. But all of that would require health department and building code, building department permits if we tried to build anything. Let's see. Kind of at this point, I think that's all I had, other than the conditions for the high water. When you get to that, I did want to have some sample language. I don't know if you want me to do that now or do it at the end. I think it'd be appropriate now.
Yeah.
The way we do it in Botetourt County, we've already gone through this in the neighboring county, is we just have a high water cutoff to which our camp closes. So we typically, as a company, we're extremely conservative, and we kind of stop running river trips for our customers at 6 feet, which by most people's standards is very, very conservative. But we just decided to be super safe. And then at the campgrounds, we've set up 8 feet where we just stop allowing people to be at our property for staying overnight. We do have a few folks that come with their own equipment, and then they could put on, and if the water was 10 or 12 feet and they were to put on and go down to Baffin Falls, that becomes a very dangerous section. So we'd like to 6 feet for our rental customers, and then the campground, we would voluntarily close the
When we say
campground at 8
6
feet.
feet, we're talking the Buchanan USGS river gauge set for Buchanan, which is 15.5 miles upstream. It's the nearest upstream river gauge from this parcel of land. And so normally the river runs from 2 foot to 6 foot. That 4 foot range is where we run trips. Flood stage is 17 feet. All right, the campsite would probably end up being 22 to 25 feet before they would even
So it'd be a catastrophic flood
So,
before
yeah,
the campsites
so
would
we-
actually start. to
the
flood.
river is still way down before we shut down, just because it's our business. We have to, just for safety reasons, we shut down. So we do have, very specific language. It's like a paragraph, basically. So we're proposing number 5 of these rewritten. Users are required to be informed that the campground is within the 100-year special flood hazard. Campground owners shall close the campground to paddle-in customers above 6 feet on the USGS Buchanan River gauge. Campground shall close to driving customers above 8 foot on the USGS River gauge, consistent with guidance on the Upper James River Water Trail website and the outfitters high water cutoff for unsafe paddling levels.
Was there
That's-
another condition that you said you wanted to change some language in?
It was the
Oh, the,
type of vehicles and.
yeah, on
trailers.
number 6, where it says, where it says, no, we totally understand with the
Toy
railroad
haulers.
crossing, you can't, there's no motorhomes, no tow behind campers. The
Yeah,
only
the
thing we
toy
wanted to
hauler.
omit was the word toy haulers. We do want to be able to get canoe and kayak trailers
Raft
over
trailers.
into the property occasion.
Mhm.
So I just-
That what a toy hauler?
The toy hauler that this is referring to is a type of camper that has living accommodations and then essentially a
That's what I was
utility
thinking.
trailer that drops down in the rear
Okay.
for.
Yeah, to me,
motorcycles,
that,
type of
that's
thing.
not the
And
same
we're
as what
fine
they're
with
talking about.
that, Yes.
Yeah.
We can go in and, the excluded part and go and allow canoe and kayak trailers. And
That would be-
actually name that as being something that's permitted. And then that would cover it.
Do you want people bringing in, I mean, I don't know, do we want people bringing in canoe and kayak trailers? I mean, do we want people to come in
That's
with
very
their own?
common in our business.
I mean, you guys, yes, but I'm saying just the public, we talked about this the last time we talked about somebody coming across those tracks. We didn't want them hauling stuff over the tracks because we thought they might get stuck, but I'm just saying, is the public going to be allowed to bring in canoe
Or this your,
haulers?
right, or is this your special spot for your customers? Which is,
I mean, we deal with the general public, and this.
So do you see that the general
incline
public
up
would
is
bring?
Asphalt and then the track, it's not as bad as people.
so
Well, I'm just
is it
wondering if
okay
you're
for the general public to,
to bring,
you're asking for 25
with-
vehicles,
Yeah,
but yet you're saying it's just a stop along the way
Right, well,
of the track?
the numbers are extreme cases. We did, 1,900 people doing the multi-day trips going down the river. That's over 4 campgrounds. We've previously been using Wilderness Canoe Company, which is 3 miles down the river.
Mhm.
So we're probably looking at 600 or 700 people a year on the property based on this year's numbers. So that's, if you take it over 7 months, it's not a lot of people per month. To your point about having regular folks drive a trailer over.
You don't want that. I mean, just be honest, it's okay.
I do want it because we
Yeah.
deal with a lot of the people that have their own equipment. and
Like
we
a Boy
switch-
Scout troop will bring
Yeah.
in, they'll have a
Okay.
van.
So
and
you
they'll
do
have
want
all
them
their
to be able to
gear
bring
in
them
an
in.
Associated trailer, or they'll bring their own boats. That occurs a lot.
Yeah, Boy
Okay.
Scout
Okay.
troops typically have a troop
But
trailer.
you make no revenue off of that?
Well, in some cases, they rent campsites.
Okay,
And then they'll bring 10 of their own boats and rent 15 from us.
okay.
So we.
Yeah.
mix
We
groups.
take them, we
Makes
take
sense.
them up all the way upriver and they just float back
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, the numbers kind of got to me too, because I'm like, that's 8 person per campsite. That seems like a lot of people, but if you're talking about you bring a Boy Scout troop, you could have 8
Oh, yeah.
kids, an
And
adult
it's-
and 7
it's many-
kids or
it's acres
something.
of Property, and our other
Right.
properties are much more dense than this one is. This will be
Right.
very.
Well, I was just thinking about 8
Right.
people.
2.5 acres and we have 10 sites,
Mhm,
which is working. This is 6.4 acres
right.
and we're only trying to get 6
Well, I
sites.
was just thinking about, that just seemed like a lot of cars and a lot of people,
Yeah.
but then when you start thinking, well, if you're bringing in, that's 3 cars per, 3.3
If
cars
we
per
have,
campsite.
like, meetup groups, like, there'll be a paddling club, they'll come in and they'll all have individual cars. So even though it's like 10 people, they'll have 10 cars show up. So
Mhm.
that's why and then they rent 2 sites, that's,
But
so
you
a lot of
also
times-
said this was mostly going to be where
Oh, it's
people
probably
just stop on the way, not
quarter of the
coming in.
time, it'll be paddle in, paddle out.
And they'll either end at Glasgow, keep continuing downriver. We'll take them out at Glasgow so they avoid the class 3 section. Or we'll run the
Wilderness,
Balcony
Canoe.
Falls stretch and we'll take them out to Snow.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Some percentage will end, could end here. We're maybe thinking of bringing on some new trips. So I don't want to say we'll never have trips end here. That's why we want to be able to bring trailers and stuff. A
Right.
lot of times when they do the multi-day trip, we swap out canoes to kayaks. So they run the Balcony Falls stretch the last day and sit on top kayaks that can't sink.
Or rafts or inflatable cockpits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that helps understand. The numbers just seemed like it was a lot for 6
It's a lot, but
campsites.
it's-
How many bathrooms do you have?
We have to
For-
follow whatever the health department guidelines is, number of people and so we will ramp up. It will start with 2 porta potties and then by the end of the summer, at some of our campgrounds, we go up to 4 porta potties in the peak months.
It has to do with how many people. So if you had 50 people on site and you only have 2
Probably four-
toilets.
That's probably 3 or 4 porta potties.
Okay.
The health department standards for like amusement is like 1 porta potty per 150 people estimated.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. I
we just-
do not want to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's why we ultimately, I would rather have flushing toilets.
Yeah.
or a better.
A better
solution
solution
what
than
we
porta
currently have.
potties. That's
Sure.
why I don't want to have to come back here to ask permission to build
Right.
bathrooms.
Sure. understood. And you guys would have to go to the building department to get a building permit and do all that. Mhm. Okay, which is part of what we've got in the draft conditions.
And
I'm
there is,
guessing.
I should note that there is a possible condition for future expansion. And so that
I think
can incorporate.
It's
some of
in here somewhere.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
So at this time, we're going to open the public hearing. Is,
Yes,
Whitmore
I
needs to read a
apologize.
Statement.
Yes.
Oh, excuse
Thank
me.
you, Ms. Huffman. I
thank you.
jumped the gun.
Yeah, I'm an adjoining landowner, so I hereby abstain from all matters, discussions, or voting related to the application for a special exception permit by Daniel B. Mays and John T. Mays, and my disclosure statement required under the Conflict of Interest Act is on file with the Secretary of the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies.
So now we will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone here physically present to speak?
No one signed up, but we'll recognize anyone at this time.
Okay.
And I want to point out that I've taken their canoe trips and all that kind of stuff, but I'm also part of the adjacent landowners upstream. And we spent 30 minutes talking about how many dogs could be on 30 acres.
Right.
And we're talking about 50 people a day beside a campground that was already approved that could have up to 30 people per day. So that could be up to like 35 vehicles going across those tracks every single day in the summertime.
Mhm.
And if we chose, like I said, it could be an expansion of the Orson property. We could choose to put our own campground in there, and we're still talking about a same railroad crossing that was never really verified as far as
That's
it's
not
an
our.
ag use entrance thing. I mean, if that was a subdivision with that much traffic going on, this could never happen. And I'm not trying to talk against it. I'm just saying somehow the county needs to address the amount of traffic going across those railroad tracks. I mean, I think your idea is really good. And the idea of it with the trailers, it's a really unique location. And prior to, it's like, I've been down there in the summertime and they do honk the horns for the neighbors that are there. And it's less remote than the dog kennel we were talking about. So I'm not trying to stop them. I'm more trying to figure out, we need to figure out some way for especially, people that aren't from here, bringing trailers into that. I just think there's the opportunity for that to be a bad situation. My kids have been down to the trespassing issue is not with the other property. It's not been as bad in the last few years. They've done a better job of taking care of that. But it's a place where you want your kids to be able to go, drive down there. And there's like all these people going in and out with no like gates to this thing, community kind of controlling it. You're basically open like 150 random people or 80 random people potentially paying to be on property with no security or management or anything like that. And 99% of all these people are great. But that other 1% that the neighbors down there have to see coming in and out of there if the gates are not locked. So I'm just not trying to stop anything. I think it's great. But the other side of it is my concerns are with what I have right there beside it and what I've seen with the number of people going in and out of there. So I just want to know how the board can address that and kind of keep. Because to me, it's like when you're trying to do the glamping in rural, it seems like an awful lot of people. And, if y'all are going to get potentially 6 on 7 acres, does that mean the other parts are going to add more campgrounds? Is that going to expand? I'm just trying to figure out where we're going with the whole thing when we really haven't addressed the access issue that was there to begin with.
Can you do me a favor? Yeah, just can you state your name and magisterial
I'm
district?
sorry.
Just
I'm
because
sorry.
I'm
I'm Samuel Bass. I
just
figured
got to have it in the
everybody-
record. So Samuel.
Bass, 1236 Paget Hill, Bridge,
Okay,
Magisterial District.
thank you. All right.
What is-
Let me just see if there's any other, because we're in the public hearing right now. Do we have anybody else to speak?
Recognizing when it says no, we do not. And we do not have any hands raised online.
Okay, so we will close the public hearing and we will bring this back to the board and have any questions up here? I believe you had.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing I had written down was the railroad crossing, excuse me. I just think there's got to be a better way to, and there's no armed gates or anything, right? For the,
That is correct. In this case, it's a private railroad crossing with no signalization. There's a stop sign. I believe there's a stop sign, but no signalization.
so does that become the property's owner's responsibility to figure out a better way to get onto that land, or is that the railroad?
That is, there is no other railroad crossing. And other than by water, there is no other ability to get to this land except for going across the railroad. And there is only one railroad crossing.
And I think she was probably touching on this earlier about private vehicles with trailers trying to cross a railroad crossing.
Chris, do you have photos of that
I just,
crossing
I could find some, but
from the last meet?
not readily available, but I probably could find some if needed.
There's some photos out there of it, but it's not a good crossing. It really isn't. Y'all may think it's pretty good, but when you start taking people that, like you say, with trailers that aren't used to pulling trailers a lot of times, that aren't used to getting off road a little bit, they're used to tooling down the highways, that it would be like trying to send them up over top of the mountain road. Yeah, and you ran on the last one, I think, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you ran on the last one.
Oh, we spent a lot of time talking about that because we were really concerned about safety for the public. You
Well,
know,
that's-
getting
that's
stuck
the
up on the
biggest thing.
track
I
and
mean-
the train comes and they're stuck
Well,
there.
what does VDOT do? I mean,
That's
with the,
kind of my thing.
That's
It's
not
the
VDOT.
railroad.
That-
And
that's
it's
the
between
railroad.
them and the railroad.
Yeah.
This
It's
is the
really
railroad.
private
VDOT's
matter
got no
between.
say on this.
VDOT's got no skin in the game, and it's between the landowners and the railroad.
Well, VDOT does require a low volume commercial, moderate volume commercial entrance permit, and that's when you get off the public road and onto the private property. That was achieved with the first application. There were some required improvements to be made with the first application. And then also there were some improvements as far as the grade nominal, but there was some additional gravels put down on the railroad crossing if during the first go around.
But now we're up in the amount of people coming across it.
What's that? Sorry.
Now we're up in the amount of
Yes.
travel,
Yes.
traffic
Yes.
coming across that.
That's the reason for the, like, the stipulation with limiting what can go in there and out of there, because you can hang up a fifth wheel camper or a camper or whatever on those railroad tracks pretty easy, the way it's as steep as it is going over.
So the applicant doesn't have to deal with the railroad again because we've already the other people
Well,
already
it's a-
have gone through.
It's twofold. Is one, it's again reporting as a civil issue between two parties, landowners in this case, and the railroad, of what they have the ability privately to cross that railroad with or not. It's my understanding, after multiple conversations with CSX during the first go around, that is for agricultural uses only. With that being said, that is a civil issue between the two parties. Our issue and the land use issue is exactly what y'all are bringing up, is the land use issue associated with the safety aspects associated with the railroad crossing.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
And maybe this didn't fall on us, but I'm assuming they're paying for everything in Buchanan, right? How does Rockbridge County? How do they pay any kind of tax for that
They're gonna pay
business?
taxes on the
Yeah,
camping
there'll
sites,
certainly be lodging taxes associated with the camping associated.
Well,
with
yeah, I
lodging.
mean, I'm just saying, it's not, maybe it's not our place, but I
Well,
think it's.
Well,
Right.
Yeah,
It's
like-
always something we consider, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, they would be paying lodging taxes associated with the number of camping sites that they use on any given month. And most likely require a business license to operate, B-pole tax to
Yeah, I'm
operate.
just trying to figure out how you police it anyway. It's not our,
Well, so that's one of
Well,
my
I'm just-
questions too, is so something was brought up about nobody's there to oversee kind of what's going on. You know, you can end up with 50 people there, potentially 80 if you have other people, and something happen. Is there anybody out there with your groups when they go out?
We operate, 3 other campgrounds about a county there with no staff model. Typically what happens if there's a little issue is the customer with the reservation is called us.
Right.
So we can be to all the properties. We can be to this property from our location in Buchanan, about 20 minutes.
But isn't there somebody who's leading the trip, the paddling trip?
I mean, the trip, yeah, no, there wouldn't be a staff member. These are all unguided trips.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
they're
I was
floating
thinking this is
down.
something you guys set up and
They just go from campsite to campsite down the river.
I gotcha.
And we pick them up at Glassville.
Okay. So one of your employees is not with them on the trip navigating and, okay.
So David, how's the cell phone service there?
It's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
there is service.
Talk
All
about
right,
that
that's
type of
what-
stuff.
I guess he's speaking privately. rather than
Yeah, he is.
us.
He got good cell service. Yeah, got good cell service. Okay.
I'm just asking a general
For
question.
safety.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering if David could comment on that question.
Yeah. Yeah, I can ask him.
Free bars.
It's for Rockbridge County, it's not a bad.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking is in case there was an issue, they could call.
And as far as the trash, it says there's going to be trash cans there. I'm assuming it's the same thing. Okay. So when you say service, somebody comes in and dumps it. Okay. It's not like a dumpster that the CNS is coming to pick up and,
We won't have CNS there across the- Well, they just for the porta potty. Well, they would not for the trash service.
Mhm. they have porta potties on the one next door.
Yes.
And so they're being serviced. They're not having any trouble getting in and out of there.
Not have been reported to me.
And have you had any reports from anybody with complaints about the other campground with the 30-ish?
Not
People that-
until this application. Once this application was made and we did some posting of properties, of course, in order to hold a public hearing, we're required to post the property with zoning action pending sign, do certified mail to all the adjacent landowners and do a newspaper ad in the newspaper. And with that being said, I did hear some concerns on the existing operation through this process of the Orison campground, dealing with numbers of people associated with going there any given time, some trash collection issues, one particular trash collection issue. I will say that the landowner that I was talking to did report that as far as the campers going to check in other places, that has dramatically decreased.
Because that E911 or the.
I
Google-
think some of it is
Googleable
E911 address for sure. I think that's part of it. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, just for comparison, the Orison campground was allocated 50 cars and 100 people.
So where did we come up with 30?
I was going back campsite,
Okay,
6 people. You know,
I gotcha.
was just coming up.
guessing, but we allowed 50 and 100. And what's the property size on that?
That was about 318. That was a total of probably 18 acres, if I recall correctly, and that's going by memory. I think it's 3 6-acre tracts approximately.
Right. Okay. Any other questions up here?
What's that?
18.2.
Yes,
19.26.
19.26 total between the three. Thank you.
Okay.
And they've had complaints from the neighbors about having too many people there.
Just not too many people exceeding 100, no. But more than this landowner wished
Wanted.
to see.
Oh, okay.
But I had zero reports of any violations of the number of people or numbers of cars.
150 people could be next to him. That's just in the middle of nowhere. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that really rocks somebody's world. You know, I mean, yeah, you like to think they're quiet but essentially we're opening, you know, hey, 150 people come on down. And to his point, 99.5% is probably decent human beings. But, I struggle with that many people being located in that little vicinity of an area.
Well, I think you got a real good point, because if you have floaters coming down that are just, like weekenders that are going down, they may boat, go on the property, stop, have lunch and walk up there and say, there's a great party place and look at our new friends. And
Yeah, there's no one there to police them. You guys said that.
Like I said, we've been running 3 different primitive campgrounds with the same model for more than 14 years. Really almost no issues. We're there at the property almost 2 or 3 times a day. There are other campgrounds.
Mhm.
a stranger walks up to you, you're gonna call the campground host.
Unless he's got a 6-pack of beer. It's like, hey, look here, let's celebrate.
Every time we ever hit the high numbers of big, it's like a summer camp. Like we'll have a
Right.
summer camp come through. We've got one that's gonna come through and it's like 48 people, 50 people that I already know is gonna be coming this year twice. I mean, so that, and there it's summer camp counselors with kids and there's like no alcohol. I mean, that's other, when we just do our normal groups, it's groups of 2 to 10, unless it's like a school group, a church group, or a scout group.
How long have you been doing the campgrounds? Like, what was your first campground? How long ago was
I mean,
that?
that was, I mean, like say it's 12, 14 years. That's what we
Right.
did in Botetourt County, almost
Yeah.
since we started. Yeah, so I mean, I think we started what it was, I guess the Gala, yeah, probably roughly 12. It's at least 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not newbies. I mean, you're not just getting started in this. You've been doing it. You have a model. The model's working.
Right.
You know,
And
that,
even after 12 years, or like I said, we've been in business, the company's been in business since 1978. We've been the owners running it since 2005. After even today, that's almost just like we're entering our 19th year of business. We only have the entire year, 1,900 people do this multi-day trip over the entire, that was this year. So that's our biggest year. So that's, you take 1,900 people, divide it by 4 different campgrounds. That's what you're looking at. It's not as many people as, there'll be a couple big groups, but mostly it's small groups. It's folks coming down from DC. It's, 4 or 5 groups of friends. They're gonna go kayaking. They want to do balcony falls.
Hey, I love your business model. I have, my wife and I have utilized it. I got, the problem I have for me personally, from my standpoint, is looking out for the neighbors also, and the uneasiness of not knowing who their neighbors are at any given time. And that's the only reason.
but we've already opened the door by allowing
Correct.
another campground that allows
Yeah.
100 people.
Yeah.
So, is it fair to say, well, you're okay to do it because you came first, but
Yeah.
now we don't want to let the next group come in and do it
No,
because now it's too
I
many
get it.
people.
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying
that
it's-
doesn't make
to
any
me,
sense either.
So anyways, I'm done talking.
Yeah.
So,
You're about to lose your voice.
I mean, if
Yeah.
anybody's got any concerns about the crossing or property, I mean, we can kick this can to next month and make a trip, road trip. It's not a problem.
I mean, we've done that. You and I probably have done that because we were on when the last campground came up that's out there. I don't know if you guys have an interest to go out there and see it. And
I drove by it and I didn't know exactly what I was looking at, but I thought, oh gosh, if somebody's bringing a big trailer in there.
you were
but-
worried
and I
that was the big
Yeah,
concern.
my first impression was that VDOT would make some kind of improvement, but that's obviously not the case.
I guess that's my other worry. So when you bring in a certain number of cars, like who's supposed to be keeping this up? I know that the Orisons did a lot of work, themselves. They brought in some gravel and stuff, right? Didn't they do the improvement?
Yes, I believe they were responsible for some of the additional gravels.
Right.
From what I saw on the site plan, there's a 50-foot right of way along a railroad track. And
Once you get inside the gate.
once you get inside the gate, there's a 50-foot right of way along railroad track, and y'all gonna put a new road in, gravel road in, running along that 50-foot right of way to y'all's property for a road. So that kind of, they're gonna take care of their end of
Right.
it. So
Well, I'm just talking about that railroad crossing. When you come up and go over that, is it going to degrade? Now if you put another 25 cars on it, how far is that going to degrade and who's going to be responsible?
that would be between the landowners and CSX.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically landlocked. That's the only way they have to get in and utilize the property. I think it's a great use for the property,
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know
Great
what else
asset
you'd
for
do
them.
there if you didn't do something like that, but.
How many other tracks are in there, other than the 2 we've talked about, the Orson properties?
There's 5 total tracks, 3 owned by the Orson family, slightly over 19 acres. The Mazes track, that's 6.4, I believe, and then the LLC, which is approximately 3.5.
So what we're looking at, possibly there would be, would or could
One
be
more.
one more if the final landowner decided they wanted to put a campground in of sorts.
And it would be half the size of the one that we're looking at today, 3 acres. So you're probably talking about 3 campgrounds?
The
three
one that
campsites.
we're under consideration owned by the Mazes is 6.42 acres. And the last track is owned by, or the additional track is owned by non-Orson, I should say, is owned by WGBV LLC and consists of 3.39 acres per tax records.
And 18 in the existing Orson track.
Slightly over 19.
19, okay, 18, 19. So, and they've got 100 people and 50 vehicles.
Right. And how many did you say? You have another track that's like 2 point something or 3 acres.
Yeah, we have a 2.5 acre.
And how many do you have on that? 10 sites.
Yeah, but it's like a skinny track, it's like 1,200 feet long. So we were trying to land. But all the fronts are like 50.
Right. Mhm.
Imagine sleeping in the tent about 2 a.m. a train comes.
Did you close the public hearing or we?
I did.
You
I
did.
did
Okay,
close the
thank you.
Do we have any other comments, or do you want to make a motion that we table this for a month, or what do you?
I'm just, if they want to go look and explore a little bit, that's the only reason I'm threw that up against 8 because they,
I mean, it sounds like you've been there,
Well,
you've seen it.
I mean, I didn't know
Didn't know
exactly
what you
what
were
I
looking
was,
at.
yeah, but I don't mind going back again. I mean, I think it'd be very helpful. I mean, I think it's a great idea, concept, the models. This county needs stuff like that. And this is a great way to get people from.
My only
outside the
point is
area.
we've allowed somebody that's going to bring in 50 cars to go across that. What are we going to learn by going out there and looking at it today? We're okay
No,
with
it's
50
nothing. I
cars.
mean, it's already
So
been.
we're okay with 50 cars going across with
Right.
another
No,
25 cars.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I
being
don't think that
honest.
anything's going to change.
Yeah, no,
By
we-
looking at
they-
it.
I
It's
mean,
dangerous. It's inherently dangerous because it's a railroad crossing with no.
I think we can cut the cars back because of the size of property. And you got 50 on 18, 19 acres, going into 19 acres. You want 25 going on 6. I don't have a problem with the people. I think we can cut the number of vehicles back.
I mean, the property is a big giant field and all the camping on the camp location is all up in the tree line.
it ain't that. It's the crossing. It's
Crossing, that's where we're at. I mean, that's what you're at as far as vehicles and traffic go. And the other side to it, just like we said before, what do we do here follows the property? Y'all got it now. Y'all might have it for another 5, 10, 20 years. Who knows what? You might sell it next week and it follows the property. So then we got to look out for the next folks and make sure that we're not opening a door or a can of worms that'll turn into a nightmare for the neighbors, as has been said.
So what is that?
Y'all gonna do what y'all say you're gonna do, which is good.
What is that? 3 cars per, I'm trying to figure out. If you have 19 acres, is that 3 cars per acre? Is that? What is it?
15, 16 cars for each track, for each 6 acres. To make it 19 or to make it 19.
15 cars for each 6 acres.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring.
I mean,
So,
basically you're looking at going from 25 cars to 15 cars,
probably 16 or 17.
16 cars, 17 cars.
16 or 17.
Is that doable for you guys? 17? Is that reasonable going from 25 to 17?
Exclude company vehicles. Like 6
Cars.
I would say yes, because my feeling is they know what they're doing. They know how to go across those tracks.
go over there because
Right.
that number of excluded companies, sometimes will go in, have 2 or 3 vehicles.
Right. To fix up and clean up and all the stuff you got to do there.
And we'll do a 15 exclude.
15 excluding
Exclude that.
Excluded companies.
company vehicles. Is that acceptable to you guys?
That's, to me, that's where we gotta
I mean,
be.
especially if you're thinking most people are gonna be coming down the river anyway. You know,
70% of the paddle out.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, that's a compromise.
We started, set a precedent, so you gotta kind of.
I agree.
We go with that, but we're gonna have to keep our vehicle count down.
Mhm.
per.
Sure. And you're okay with the number of people because they're
So-
going to be paddling in anyway, and that
Paddling
makes a lot of
in.
sense.
Yep.
Okay.
I can get 50 people in. vehicles, I guarantee you if I
Yeah,
needed to.
A van full of Boy Scouts. Okay. You guys have any questions or other suggestions? I think that's a good one. Thank you for that.
Like it.
So I think we need to do as an included or excluded from vehicles, we want to make sure they can do the canoe and kayak trailers. They can get in there with that because that's part of the business.
Oh, I agree.
Company owned.
Yeah, company-owned canoe and kayak trailers. But you wanted to bring, you were saying though that like the Boy Scouts might, yeah, I mean, if the Boy Scouts bring in 10.
Yeah, a lot of people will have, like you get a power plug.
Mhm.
They're all outdoorsy people.
Right. Yeah, I think we need to let that.
That use that aren't our customers, but still use our camping network. We have college universities. Like they have their
I've
own
seen theirs.
van,
Yeah, they've got the
own
things
trailers.
all up.
They
Yeah.
just use our camping network.
Mhm.
It's these other organizations, Boy Scout troops that have all their own gear that sometimes use our camping network.
Right. So I don't think we can do that without messing with their business model.
I'm not gonna, I wouldn't hold it just a company trailers for canoes and my reason on that is if somebody hangs one up on the train tracks and the train whacks it, it's
That's on
gonna
them.
be between the landowners
And
and
CSX.
the
Yeah,
CSX.
that's what I was gonna say. Some of it's just personal
Camping part of
responsibility.
it, the camper trailers or the campers hanging up on, I got an issue with that because it might be, or could be somebody in that trailer and that's the safety part that bothers me.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think it was when we laying in a canoe sleeping, so.
No.
And it would not be required to add what can be permitted. It's just no motorhomes, tow behind campers such as, et cetera, et cetera. And so,
Can't say we can't allow this. We're just disallowing. these
yeah, for the other
specifically
example,
named thing.
the current conditions would not prohibit the other
Bringing that.
campground from bringing the same thing.
I think there was some
Same
discussion
things.
about maybe prohibiting anybody other than a company trailer
No,
bringing in.
I
So
realize
we-
that,
so that's
just
why.
make clarifying that that's not the case in the
Correct.
existing conditions
got
for the
you.
existing campground.
Do you have something that you wanted to say?
Well,
You
I
look
just
like-
heard two different definitions of toy haulers. So if they can either, if the use of that term can be interpreted several different ways, I
We need
think
to
you
be more
do
clear.
need to be more specific or clear.
I'm good with, but let me add this comment, I should say. It says no motorhomes tow behind campers such as toy haulers. So it's unique to campers.
Okay. Yes, that makes sense.
That makes sense?
You understand that? Yeah. Such as, it's an example. Don't bring. it
Pop
up.
up campers,
Right.
toy haulers.
Okay. Perfect. Are you good with this? You want to make the motion?
Well, there's a couple other things before we
Oh.
get to a motion.
Oh, okay.
One, we need to discuss number 5, our proposed conditions versus one that's been brought to the table by the applicant. Our first one is all users are required to be notified and acknowledge that the campground is within the 100-year special flood hazard area. Campground owner shall utilize Alert Rockbridge for those notification system and provide instructions upon check-in about accessing the Alert Rockbridge. The draft motion that was essentially, I'm sorry, the draft condition that was provided by the applicant states that users are required to be informed that the campground is within the 100-year flood hazard, 100-year special flood hazard area. Campground owners shall close the campground to paddle in customers about 6 feet on the USGS James River Buchanan Gauge. Campground shall be closed to drive-in customers above 8 feet on the USGS Buchanan James River Gauge, consistent with guidance on the upper. In fact, I would just my recommendation would just be dropped off the consistent,
Well, I feel like that's two different things. One of them is notifying them through Alert Rockbridge, and the other is them agreeing to close it at certain heights. I mean, because what if they're in the campground and a flash flood comes? Like, how are they going to be notified?
If this was a campground like in a mountain valley by a creek, then I think it's absolutely, you got to use the alert system.
Mhm.
We're talking on the main James Line River.
So is there a reason you don't want to use the alert Rockbridge? It wouldn't help you.
Wouldn't help. I mean, if it rains, the river is right there at the camp, you want to be concerned how much rain went 50 miles, 80 miles, 100 miles upriver.
Right.
It's gonna go to the creek streams down to the main river, and that's what's gonna surge it up. That's how you can tell what's getting ready to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris, what was the other one approved for? The,
The
Orison.
conditions as it's drafted. And we talked about, there's been other campgrounds, to answer your question directly, verbatim, number 5 is what was.
that's what they got
Yes.
approved.
But my feeling is this is a lot
Then if I'm being
better. We
held
didn't know
to,
about this when we
Well,
approved
no,
that
no,
one.
we
Right.
discussed this very
Did we?
same river gauge and the issues
Oh.
of, and the difference between a campground along the calf pasture that we had some language, you may recall, we had some language
Right.
on gauges and when the
Hmm.
campers would be notified and when the campers.
But
were
we didn't
actually
use that on the Orison.
We didn't because of exactly what he just said is because of the nature of the floodplain, how wide it is, the one is prone to flash flooding, one is less prone, if you will.
Okay.
So it has a lot to do with the watershed and the floodplain of the area.
Well, I'm okay then with their recommendation.
And that, would that be an addition to or striking?
I'd strike it.
I'd strike it. I mean, if it's not gonna, right, yeah.
That last sentence, you want to, I'd see Chris, when you talk, that last sentence might not be consistent with.
Yep.
Water trail guidance.
Yes, so what I'm getting from the commission is striking number 5 as drafted and utilizing draft number 5, if you will. Users are required to be informed that campground is within the 100-year special flood hazard area. Campground owners shall close, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And striking consistent with the guidelines on the Upper James
Right.
River Water Trail website and the outfitter's high water unsafe levels for paddling. That's good information, but it's just sort of ad lib, if you will,
Sure.
or adjective.
Yep.
The only other one I think that we've gone through number 1, 2, 3, 4, replacing number 5, updating number 5, I should say. Number 6, I think we're on the same page on. Number 7, campgrounds limited to 15 vehicles, not to exceed 50 people. Number 8, campgrounds, we're on the same page with number 8. Number 9, do think it's worthwhile at least to talk about the possible condition for future expansion. As far as within blank months of approval of the special exception permit, blank of the blank camping spots may be upgraded to provide for. And you may
that
want
3?
them to come back during that time period to talk about what the upgrades are. We could go ahead and at this time, essentially pre-approve, if you will, a time frame for a bathhouse to be
I
constructed.
think we should do that because that probably is going to happen sooner. Why come back in 6 months? So
And I
yeah.
would recommend 24 months. I mean, 2 years,
Yes.
is a fairly common.
And how
time
many
frame.
of those would we be upgrading to glamping sites? Would it be 3? Half of them?
I don't think we have a business plan more than 3. More than 3, yeah, it'd be 3.
3,
And those are essentially tents that can take it down in about an hour.
right?
The temporary structure.
Sure. And remember on the vehicles that we need to make sure we add the language about excluding the company vehicles.
So I'll go ahead and to continue the conversation, within 24 months of approval of special exception, 3 of the 6 camping spots may be upgraded to provide for glamping tents. And I'm going ahead and put wall tents in there just to be clarified. Additionally, within this time frame, a bathhouse may be installed on the property. That's again, for only discussion purposes, throwing it out.
And that, do we need to, on that, say, that they have to go through the building department and all that, or is that already in there somewhere?
Essentially, it's already approval contingent upon final VDOT, Office of Fire and Rescue Management and Health Department approvals. That's contingent on the whole approval process, but certainly they have to do that anyway. I mean, in order to do a bathhouse, you have to have a
Building permit and all
you're
that.
gonna have to have a drain field essentially.
Okay. Anything else to add? Okay. Do you have that written anywhere, or do you all have that written anywhere so he could, when we do the motion, somebody can
I have
read
it here.
You have it?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just say, and you're up. Okay,
And if, go ahead. And I could reiterate all conditions and you could utilize that for a motion.
So
And just say, and what he said?
And I think that's,
we're not going to add the canoe and kayak trailers, or we are?
No, we're not, because we're only talking about what's excluded, and we decided that everybody needed, that's on them. Like you said, if they want to bring a kayak trailer in and it gets stuck on the tracks, that's on them.
we're adding excluding overland vehicles, sprinter, transit, camper van, and side-end trailers because we say the overreaching of recreational vehicles. If it left at recreational vehicles, again, recreational vehicles is a motor vehicle designed to have sleeping accommodations in. And that's why I think it's important to exclude certain types of those vehicles.
Okay.
With the overreaching recreational vehicles, I should say.
Okay.
So what I have is substantial, number one, substantial compliance with location of camping sites as shown on the concept plan prepared by the applicant, titled Site Plan Twin River Primitive Campground. Number two, no campsites within 50 feet of adjacent property, tax map 113-11-3. Applicant will obtain an E911 address, install signage from Gilmore's Mill Road. Number four, campground owners are responsible for installing and maintaining signage identifying the western limits of the campground. Number five, all users are required to be informed that the campground is within the 100-year special flood hazard area. Campground owners shall close the campground to paddle in customers above 6 feet on the USGS James River Buchanan River gauge. Campground shall be closed into drive-in customers above 8 feet on the USGS Buchanan James River gauge. Number six, no motorhomes tow behind campers, such as pop-up campers, toy haulers, teardrop trailers, stand-up trailers, etc., or other recreational vehicles, excluding overlander vehicles, sprinter / transit camper vans, and slide-in truck campers permitted. Number seven, campground is limited to 15 vehicles, excluding company vehicles, not to exceed 50 people. Number eight, the campground owners are responsible for ensuring that the railroad crossing / stop signage is not obstructed. And number nine, approval contingent upon final VDOT, Office Fire and Rescue Management, and Health Department approvals. Number 10, within 24 months of approval, the special exception permit, 3 of the 6 camping spots may be upgraded to provide for glamping tents and or wall tents. Additionally, within this time frame, a bathhouse may be installed on the property.
Okay.
I have to agree with her. I think we still need to throw in there with health department approval for the bathhouse. Because
It's too far away from that.
I can go in and put in a bathroom and a shower house if I wanted to with 8 feet out approval. If I felt like doing it, and they could too if they wanted to. So we all know how it can work. Happens too often.
If you want to make the motion, and all you have to do is say, in all those conditions as read.
Thanks.
Okay.
Really looking forward to talking.
No, you are.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
Just to clarify that last one, just so I have it,
Spread it around.
just so I have it correct, it's additionally within this time frame, a bathhouse may be installed on the property. Yeah, with building department and health department approval.
Yes,
Thank you.
agreed. Thank you.
I'll make a motion. Recommend the board of supervisors that the special exception permit to develop and operate a campground / private seasonal camp in agriculture and general uses district A2 per LDR section 603.03-15 on a parcel of land located along the James River off the south side of Gilmer's Mill Road and identified as tax map number 113-11-4 in the Natural Bridge Magisterial District be approved with the following conditions. Substantial compliance with the location of camping sites as shown on the concept plan prepared by the applicant titled Site Plan Twin River Primitive Campground. 2, no campsites within 50 feet of the adjacent property, tax map 113-11-3. Applicant shall obtain an E911 address and install signage along or from Gilmer's Mill Road. Campground owners are responsible for installing and maintaining signage identifying the western limits of the campground. 5,
You want me to read it again?
But either that or give it to me so I can read it because I don't have it. So
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the
Yeah.
plan was.
We were
to-
just going to say,
Yeah.
with the conditions as Chris just read.
with the conditions as Chris just read.
There you go.
There you go.
Fine. 6, no motor homes, tow behind campers such as pop-up campers, toy haulers, teardrop trailers, stand-up campers, etc., or other recreational vehicles excluding overlander vehicles, sprinter transit camper vans, slide-in truck campers permitted. Campground is limited to 15 vehicles excluding
Any company vehicles.
and not to exceed 50 people. Campground owners are responsible for ensuring that the railroad crossing / stop signage is not obstructed. Approval contingent upon final VDOT, Office of Fire and Rescue and Emergency Management and Health Department approvals. 10, within 24 months of approval of the special exception permit, 3 of the 6 camping spots may be upgraded to glamping / wall tents. Additionally, within this time frame, a bathhouse may be installed on a property contingent upon Health Department and
Building department.
Building Department approval.
Prior to finalize that, would you object to adding Twin River company vehicles?
Twin River Company vehicles. No,
It's a
that's
schematics.
not a problem.
Get 18 work trucks.
Campground is limited to 15 vehicles excluding Twin River Company vehicles.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
All right, we are moving on to the comprehensive plan update discussion, and we are on to chapter 3, population with
Could I take a
Utica.
quick break?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, we're going to take a 3-minute break so everybody can stretch their legs and do what they need to do.
25-minute break.
No.
Well,
Hey, I never did get a straight answer. on that one damn dog she was breeding. I did not get the answer I wanted. They may not be breeding.
Thank you. I would have forgotten it.
Oh, yes, thank you. I literally was like that, and then I go on to something else. What's that? No, it's fine.
It's good to get up and stand. I'm glad he asked for that break.
How long was this one take? Oh, is that on the agenda too? I missed it.
Yes, but that's just discussion. They might make a motion.
We make it down
For hours about nothing.
We're going to get more information. Wait a month. It's going to be what it is.
Well, the thing is, in my opinion, this is real. There should have been more. It's different of all those breeds, so.
Yeah, well, not really.
I mean, I know
That just makes it more stressful.
There were other properties that could do the same thing. You still just have that one in there.
And
Otherwise,
neighbors
they're-
has 3 parcels,
Right.
and we had to cut them back for that, but what I'm getting at is, you only have like a 1 lane road going. Right. railroads never agreed that they were more than an ag access to that property. It all depends on.
That's between them. I mean, that. we
Theoretically,
can't
the
do
county
that.
should, the VDOT, that's my opinion, you know, the county should not allow additional use to something to the railroad. That's my thought.
But yes, but our attorney keeps saying it's a
Somebody's
civil
gonna,
matter.
somebody's gonna die.
Somebody's gonna have, right. and then
Or not die,
CSX
or
is
may hopefully
gonna-
not die, but somebody's gonna get smashed.
Well, that's my big concern.
And then what's gonna happen, it's gonna shut down my access to it.
Well, they can't have you landlocked. I mean, it's got to be a better access, whether, I mean, I think CSX ought to make a better access. They ought to put a thing there, or they ought to have, you know, because you can't landlock it.
When the other part is people across the road. Blow the horn out. All those houses that are down Gilmore Trail, 2 o'clock in the morning. So there's people there, they gotta hit the lights like they're going through the county. Whereas you're in the middle of nowhere.
So I got
About 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We never even see it.
One, are we all back?
Thank you, like that.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to
I
make a big
appreciate-
deal, but
No,
we're
I
just
think-
trying to
no,
like.
it's- you brought
They go to our
a great point, but
website,
that's
look
something-
online, they get an email with a heat
I
combination.
mean, I think that-
Chris always knows.
Chris is one who never-
I didn't even call you today. You ought to be happy.
I was literally about to tell you, we don't have a BZA meeting. You walked in, I literally.
We got a BZA meeting. Everybody entitled to this.
Absolutely.
The reason for the horse is the BLI when I come in. That would be the one sole representative around here from saying.
Yeah, it is, it is.
Let's get fired
Now,
back
wait,
up.
now, I'll wait and see. Now, I've been nice to everybody. Wait till like.
And they did. Well, it scratched around, did some minor lining. They may have put a little piece of culvert in and widened the road, the entrance got about this much. That's not the issue. It's just
No,
the-
the angle.
Did they put that gate?
That
was already there.
It's already been.
It's already there.
We did want to talk to some of whoever told that to want to maybe make a. So otherwise,
Otherwise, they go up and
and
around.
onto their property.
Yeah. Primarily, yes, they do leave everything. I mean, I guess, typically, I guess.
Once you turn off,
And by their permit, they were supposed to put a.
Once you're 25 feet into your driveway, it's solar
I
power.
don't give a shit if you saw that in there.
Yeah, they never.
All right, you have to drag those boys in
Yeah,
here. I
you're
told them,
trying
I talked with the best man came back. here.
And your other property. Right.
Can I bang this gavel?
Yes, we're getting ready to fire back up.
Bang the gavel, boys.
5 minutes.
So we are going to bring this meeting back to order. And we are moving on to the comprehensive plan update discussion, which Vivica is going to do a presentation, I'm guessing.
Just a quick talk through the updates that we made to the population chapter. So as Ms. Henna said, this is chapter 3, our population chapter. This is one of the chapters that required fully updating because it is so dependent on current information. So everything within the chapter, almost to the T, has been updated. Starting most of the information was taken from the US Census that was completed in 2020, but it also does rely on past numbers to help kind of even that out. On table 3.1 and 3.2, you can see the previous historic populations of the county, and that helps depict the growth that has occurred, not only in the county, but on table 3.3, you can see Lexington and Buena Vista as well. And then figure 3.1 displays all three of the county and the 2 cities in a graph format to see the growth over time. On table 3.4, you can see the population density for, again, the county, Buena Vista, and Lexington. And you can see that the the density of the population varies based on whether it's a city or the county. Table 3.5 discusses the annual number of births and deaths, which help show whether we are in a growth trend or a decline in population. And that is also shown in the net increase or in some cases decrease on table 3.6 and figure 3.2. On starting at figure 3.7, I'm sorry, table 3.7, it goes into the age disbursement amongst the population within the county and the way that it has changed from 2010 to 2020. Again, the median ages are broken down based on the different localities and the percent of the population that is within each age group. Figure 3.4 shows the number of males versus females in the county and the growth that has occurred over time. And then race and ethnicity are shown in the population for 2010 and 2020 and the changes that have occurred during that time. Table 3.11 is where we start to get into the projected population. And you can see that it has 2030, 2040, and 2050 projected populations. And then figure 3.6 is actually the only portion of this chapter that has not been updated. And that's because the 2020 census has not made public the information regarding age disbursement in the population. And so for the future projections. And so that is something that is not going to be released. It was, I think, originally supposed to be May of 2023. And now it's been moved back to August of 2023. So at this point, that information is not made available. The information that's in there is for 2040, and that was from the 2010 census. So the hope is that before the chapter and the entire comp plan is published, we hope to be able to have that new information to make an update. And then finally on table 3.12, 3.12, you can see the projected population in general for several different cities and counties throughout our area. So you'll notice that this chapter does not have any goals and objectives with it. And this is one of the only chapters within the comp plan that does not include it. I think that's because the information, it's just putting the information out there. There's not much that can be figured into goals based on the population change. So this is just laying out the facts and figures for the past, present, and future.
I have two questions about, because I'm looking at this percent change 6.66, but we're in a negative. I mean, we've been in a negative, negative 1132 or whatever. Why do they, I mean, it seems like every year we have more deaths than we have births. So why would they think we're going to continue to, I don't know how they get that, or how they think that we're going to have more males when we have continually, females have continued to grow.
So you're looking, just to be clear, you're looking at figure 3.2, the natural increase.
Well, I was looking at 3.12 where it talks about the percent change in 2020 to 2050. It says plus 6.66, but I'm looking at the figure that keeps, let me find it, that basically keeps saying that we're going down, in our population. We have negative.
Whoever figured that one up, crystal ball was a little foggy.
Yeah, I mean,
that
it's
day.
so much. Well, I'm looking at 3.6 and it talks about Rockbridge County births and deaths. Net increase is minus 1,132. I'm just wondering why, if we're going down between 2011 and 2020 to 2020, why we think in the
Gonna
next.
move down here from Northern Virginia.
Right. at 6.6, but you know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem to make a lot of
The
sense. If
camp.
between 11 and 20,
No,
we went down 1,132. Why in the world would we think we're gonna get that plus another 6.6%?
Florida.
Just
I mean,
wondering.
you can see, I'm not sure specifically what you're looking at, but so I see what you're saying, that the births is less than the deaths, so that deaths are outnumbering. So I understand that. I think it could be based on the fact that in Virginia as a whole, it's been increasing. The births are outpacing the deaths by quite a bit.
I think
in the past.
more migration to our market is probably.
That would be my assumption, but again, this information was taken from the census. So I guess that is up to their interpretation. And the Weldon.
And was that, we talked about this a little bit, the fact that the census was not very good because of the year and the way things were. Was there some adjustment made in that census now that they realized that it was not done very well?
So there hasn't necessarily been adjustments. I think that they did go ahead and publish the information that was collected. However, they have done in a few different areas. They have done some follow-up data collection. So there was a 2021 ACS 5-year study, 5-year survey done. And that collected information that I think that they were hoping to help fill in the gaps. But I don't know, they did still put out the 2020 census as.
I just think our area was particularly affected because I manage a lot of rental property that students live in, and, they were calling me and asking me lots of questions, and, the kids weren't there, but they were renting, they were on the lease, so it was just not, I don't think it was a true reflection.
And I remember going to one census seminar, if you will, or something online, and those averages or assumptions, I should say, were made. Some of those assumptions were made prior to publishing the material. I remember one in particular was associated with Harrisonburg's population. JMU has 21,000 people.
Right, big difference.
It was with I get 50,000, let's say, in Harrisonburg total.
Right.
And so there were some assumptions made prior to the publication, prior to publishing the census itself.
Okay.
So I think that.
You think there were some
exactly-
adjustments that
exactly. I
were
think that's
taken
why
into
they were,
consideration?
essentially reaching out to landlords, property managers, et cetera, saying, hey, what's going on? There's no one knocking through the door. We're not getting the same information we're used to because of COVID, because Washington Lee, BMI was shut down.
They were all home, right.
Yes.
On the seminar that I was at, the woman from Montgomery County, she said the Virginia Tech numbers were just.
Right. And it makes such a
Wait,
big difference in the
yeah.
funding and,
It does.
planning all the way around. So, okay.
And just to point one thing out, the births and deaths are taken from the Virginia Vital Statistics reports, not from the census, as I had previously said. So that is, I believe that's gathered from the Virginia Department of Health.
Well, that would be much easier to
Yes. And I would
get
say
real
the growth
numbers
rate,
on.
obviously, people moving in, because I think the heyday of 05, we had 225 new single family dwellings built in Rockbridge County.
Right.
And so that number dwindled to 40 now, but we're still seeing obviously new single family dwelling construction.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. Do you all have any questions?
In looking at other comp plans, if you know, do other localities have goals for this section or?
I haven't looked specifically at that, but I can definitely look at that. I know that, I guess I haven't looked at it specifically. They do have it, the goals mostly combined at the end. So whether or not it's broken up by chapter, but I can certainly look through to.
Yeah, I was thinking, what could a goal be? Well, it could be that we're gonna try to promote Lexington and outdoor living and whatever, to bring people here if we wanted people to come here, but.
Kind of balance our age class category. We're an aging county. I mean, I think we want to promote, a balanced age class distribution, to be vibrant, which means we probably are growing at a higher rate than 6.6%. We're attracting new businesses to keep the younger people, working age people here. So I would think somehow we could weave something along those lines into it.
Sure.
And we can certainly look at adding goals. I will say that we do have like a full economy chapter coming up. That's chapter 6. So that could
Tie the two
definitely
together.
That probably
maybe.
would be, yeah.
pull in there.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Last thing
Um,
I'll add on that is the economy chapter. It is good timing because the direct Office of Economic Development is working on a strategic economic development plan. And it will have, I should say, goals and objectives associated with that. That certainly will be mirrored, or I anticipate will be mirrored in our comprehensive plan as well. There'll be
Great.
some similarities there, I believe.
Thank you. Last thing on the agenda is the zoning text amendment discussion about multifamily dwellings in the general business B1 zoning district.
Yes, per section 605.03-24 of the land development regulations, quote, upper story apartments, condominiums are used by special exception. So as you know, we had a landowner reach out to us inquiring about lower story. In this case, it's a three level building. And he's inquiring about the basement level or the lowest level being converted into living units. The current ordinance the current language of the ordinance does not provide flexibility to allow for additional dwellings on lower floors. As previously discussed, zoning text amendments can be initiated by a resolution intent adopted by the Board of Supervisors or a motion by the Planning Commission. With that being said, I think it's critical as a planner, if you will, I think it's critical still to have some retail or some business use, I should say, associated with the apartment complex. I don't think it'd be appropriate just to have a straight apartment complex by use by special exception in a business zone. That would be more appropriate for a residential zoning district, obviously. But with that being said, I do agree, or I think there is some merit, I should say, to have some flexibility for unique situations of 3 stories, 3-story buildings, and have multiple floors of apartment complexes, condominium, townhome type thing. I will add per table 2 of the regulations, the current density for multifamily is a ½ acre plus 2,000 square feet for each additional unit. These would be considered multifamily, and that, in my opinion, and my determination, if you will, that still would be the underlying factor. That, along with having some, I don't want to say core component of business use, but some percentage of business use left in the building that being discussed to be converted to multifamily.
So do we have something that says it needs to be business use on, let's see, the forward facing part or the main floor?
And that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. That is part of this. We don't now because it just says upper story, so
I
with
know
that.
the city says, that it has to be on the front of the building. There has to be business or whatever.
Yeah, and so that's certainly the language that I would like to explore drafting. And we certainly can, I'm very confident that we could have some draft language for your review next month.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Main floor to me, if you're gonna go down this path, it needs to be main floor. And an upper and a lower, and then you still, I don't know how this particular building's laid out, but if you're gonna put dwellings in the basement, you need to make sure there's egress,
It would be
fire and rescue in
Right,
case something
yeah.
catches on fire, that kind of thing for safety.
absolutely, all building codes would have to be
No way
followed.
to get out.
So would y'all, I mean, I haven't done a tremendous amount of research, and I will say that the landowner that requested it, I forwarded y'all his email. I did not even inform him I told him the process would move forward, but I did not even inform him to be here tonight because this is obviously a zoning text amendment for the entire business zone and not unique to this one piece of property. With that being said, he's very interested in following up with the process and being part of that process, if you will. And not knowing the exact time frame, I know that the time frame, I think it would be more appropriate to allow staff to have some additional time to bring some draft language for y'all's consideration at next month's meeting, and then potentially hold a public hearing in March.
Okay, yes, if we would like to direct you to put together some draft language to change that, and we'll consider that, and then we'll take it to a public hearing after we agree or make changes or whatever.
Perfect.
Okay. Do we have a motion to dismiss? Motion to adjourn in a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.